Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. We have some reports here coming obviously from, obviously I say obviously because the Ukrainians are, informing us and we are allowed to use the Ukrainian media, but we can't really use the Russian media, because if you use the Russian media, that could be labeled at this, that, then, bam, bam, boom. So we use these guys and we can analyze it and maybe point to their inaccuracies and other things that they get engaged in. I won't say propaganda because they don't do that, right? They all do it. So this article comes from Ukrainska Pravda. It is from Sunday, which is today, August 14th, 2022. Air Force launches 10 airstrikes on invaders. So it says that Ukrainian Air Force strike aircraft have launched up to 10 group airstrikes on the Russian occupying forces. The source is the Air Force Command of the Armed Forces of Ukraine press service. Details. During the day on 13 August, strike aircraft of the Air Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine launched up to 10 group airstrikes on the positions of the occupying forces in several operational areas. Now they tell us what kind of weapons they use, what kind of aircraft, which I am always interested in. Under the cover of fighter aircraft, Sukhoi 25 attack aircraft and Sukhoi 24M bombers attacked platoon and company strong points. Platoon tank columns on the march to where? To Vladivostok or to Kiev or to Lisbon, because they say that the Russians are going to invade the whole Europe. So let's use that narrative. So there were the columns on the march to Lisbon, river crossing and concentrations of enemy manpower and equipment. Good, that should be a very fruitful activity. About 15 armored combat vehicles belonging to the enemy were destroyed and dozens of Ruskists were killed. All right, so it's not only the military equipment, but also the military personnel. And it says here that actually the Ukrainians, because that's I'm with Ukrainians here, I have another article here that brings a little bit more of information on these guys. And let me find it here. And here it is. This comes from Ukrinform, the same date, which is the 14th of August 2022. And it has a title of Air Force units destroy about 15 Russian armored vehicles, like the other article reported. And it says that over the past days, strike aircraft of the Air Forces launched up to 10 ground strikes and destroyed about 15 Russian armored vehicles and dozens of invaders. So it says that on August 13, in several operational directions, the strike aircraft of the Air Forces of Armed Forces of Ukraine launched up to 10 ground missiles, airstrikes on the positions of the occupying forces. We know that. And they destroy equipment, manpower, and it says that as reported, the Armed Forces of Ukraine eliminated about 43,550 Russian invaders from February 24th to August 14th. Obviously, all this information comes from the Ukrainians, so they're winning, the Ukrainians are losing, but somehow those columns are moving towards Lisbon, not towards Kamchatka Peninsula. So we have a problem here. They being the Ukrainians, in their reporting, which could be exaggerated, could not be, that's not the point. They report, they go and attack. Now I don't care if they attack with one airplane or aircraft, they attack with 3,000 at this point. What I'm trying to say is that by their reporting, you find out what's going on with the other army. So in this case, I found out that those guys are moving columns of tanks, which tells me that those guys are not moving the columns of tanks towards Moscow, but towards east, but towards west. So that tells me, okay, so the Russians are preparing and or are in an offensive towards you. So that means you fight a defensive war still. So that's what I get out of this one, without even having to check on the Russians. That's why you read these weasels, and because they're weasels, you find out, because they brag, and they will overextend their reporting, and they will overemphasize it. So therefore you find out what's going on. And I say they destroyed platoons, and that means military personnel, people. So that means the Russians still have manpower to fight. Otherwise you would say none to be found, none to be found, zero, no platoons, no manpower. As again, if you read the Ukrainian news outlets, they tell you that the Russians are depleted of manpower coming from the UK intelligence services, all right, and from the Ukrainians, which again I think is just an exaggeration of the reporting. But you find out here through this one that they still have it. It doesn't mean that they're not depleted, but it's still there, and they still have equipment, as these guys claim. So they're very happy that they destroyed 15 armored vehicles. Oh, they still have them? Okay, what were they doing over there? Having a party, having a drag race, or what? So you pick from their reporting information on the other side. And remember, those are maximized probably and sometimes minimized on this side. So they said they had about 10 strikes or raids, or how you want to call them, attacks. Well, probably were 3, but they said about almost 10 or something, right? Let's say they said they destroyed 15 Russian armed vehicles. Probably they destroyed 4. All right. They say a column of tanks. Maybe there were like 3 tanks, one after another, or maybe a cluster. So, but they say a column. So that's, oh look, we did how strong we are. I mean, I'm doing this because I'm 99% certain that's the way it is, because I know how these things are occurring, and you should also already know. It's like your team, soccer team, football team playing the opposite. Whatever you're doing, imagine you listen to it on radio like it used to be, and that guy is telling you, oh my God, and Maradona is running on the left and is dribbling like 15 players over and over, and he shoots and breaks the nets. All right, was it so? No. And then the opposite. I'm reporting the opposite. The Brazilians are attacking. Okay, Pelé goes over there and, oh my God, he just knocks one of our players in the eye with his elbow, and he shoots and he luckily gets, and he scores. Goal. That's how you report. So that's how it's in a war as well. It just here is about lives, and over there is a game. That's the only difference. So when you hear about the Russians being over there in a column and they destroy it, they want to overemphasize how much, but they don't realize that we are thinking, okay, but if you overemphasize this, that shows that maybe they are still vigorous, if you know what I mean, hard workers. So here it is, friends, just a way to interpret what these guys are saying and find out what actually happens from these weasels. And if I would read the Russians, they would say the same thing. They would be the Maradona team, and the other one would be Pelé's team. Okay, so the same thing here. Obviously, they didn't play one against another, but my analogy. That's the way it is. But you find out. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.